The global automotive aftermarket is worth over $200 billion, and a massive chunk of that is being spent by car owners who genuinely believe they are making their engines stronger and more reliable. Here's the thing, the data tells a completely different story. For every legitimate performance upgrade engineered with supporting hardware and full calibration, there are dozens of bolt-on mods being sold on YouTube, Instagram, and Amazon that look great on camera and quietly destroy your engine over the next 12 to 24 months. Here is what the modification shops and influencer channels will not tell you. Most of these mods were never designed for your daily driver, your stock ECU, or your OEM fuel system. They were designed to sell. Smart owners who understand the engineering are already reversing them. Stick around until the end because the final mod is something almost every car owner has done without ever suspecting the damage. Mod 1, cheap cold. Air intakes with oiled filters. Cold air intakes have been sold as the easiest power upgrade since the 90s. Every listing promises 10 to 15 horsepower for $60. What none of them mention is the MAF sensor sitting directly downstream, waiting to be contaminated. Here's the thing, your MAF sensor works by measuring how much incoming air cools a heated sensing wire. The ECU builds your entire fuel map around that reading. When an over-oiled cotton gauze filter migrates oil residue onto that wire, it insulates it from the airstream. The ECU gets a false signal, miscalculates fuel delivery, and your engine runs lean under load. The fault codes that follow, 0171 and P0174, lean air-fuel ratio errors, cannot self-correct without a full ECU relearn. A fouled MAF sensor costs $150 to $400 to replace. The real kicker is the timeline. Most owners run lean for months before any warning light appears, and during that entire period, elevated combustion temperatures are accelerating piston ring wear and generating misfires they write off as normal. Translation, $60 spent, $400 lost, and your engine quietly damaged the whole time. Bottom line, inspect that MAF sensor today if you are running a cheap oiled intake. Mod 2, ECU tune and flash without supporting upgrades. ECU tuning was once the domain of professional engineers with dynamometers and months of calibration data. Today you can flash your car in a parking lot for $150. That accessibility is exactly what makes it catastrophic. Here's the thing, manufacturers download ECU timestamp data when a warranty claim is filed and can directly prove non-OEM calibration caused the failure. Denied, no negotiation. And the mechanical damage that follows an amateur tune is among the most expensive in automotive repair. Fault codes P0325 and P0300 through P0308, knock sensor faults and cylinder misfires, appearing within the first few thousand miles. Advancing timing and raise and boost without upgrading injectors, intercooler, and fueling means the engine combusts at pressures beyond what stock pistons and connecting rods were built for. Knock a pre-detonation, sends a shockwave through the piston crown with every single event. Enough events and the piston cracks. And get this, a cracked piston means a rebuild costing north of $8,500, with a voided warranty and no insurance coverage. The tune costs $150. Translation, engineering suicide with a 2-day shipping window. But if you think a bad tune destroys your engine slowly, the next mod can do it in a single pull. Mod 3, nitrous oxide systems on stock engines. Nothing carries mythological weight in car culture quite like nitrous. What the film never shows is the teardown footage. Shattered pistons, bent connecting rods, an engine that ran perfectly right up until the bottle opened. Here is the thing, even a conservative 50-shot dry kit spikes cylinder pressure far beyond what stock pistons, head gaskets, and connecting rods are rated to absorb. Repair costs run from $2,000 to over $8,500. Manufacturers are explicit. Nitrous voids engine warranties without exception. Nitrous does not just add power, it rewrites the combustion equation. The massive oxygen spike accelerates the burn rate, raises combustion temperatures, and loads the cylinder with forces the OEM components were never designed for. The ECU, calibrated for atmospheric combustion, cannot compensate fast enough. One detonation event can shatter a piston crown, spin a rod bearing, and blow a head gasket, simultaneously on an engine with zero prior issues. Bottom line, bolting nitrous to a stock engine is handing a loaded bazooka to someone who has never fired a pistol. The power is real, so is the destruction. If this is already eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe. We are only 3 mods in, and it gets worse. The next mod is so subtle that most turbocharged owners do not realize it is corrupting their fuel trims every single time they lift off the throttle. Mod 4, a vent to atmosphere. Blow-off valves on MAF equipped cars. The whoosh of a vent to atmosphere blow-off valve is one of the most sought-after sounds in the turbocharged community. Owners spend hundreds chasing it. What they are actually buying is a systematic corruption of their fuel management system, delivered in the most satisfying packaging possible. Here's the thing, on any MAF-equipped turbocharged car built after the mid-90s, which is virtually all of them, the MAF has already measured the air, and the ECU has already built a fuel injection event around it. When the blow-off valve dumps that air externally, the fuel fires into a combustion chamber with less air than calculated. Rich condition, rough idle, stalling. And get this, the long-term damage accumulates far beyond the symptoms. Thousands of throttle lifts corrupt the ECU's adaptive fuel trim memory in ways the system cannot fully self-correct. On direct injection engines, the repeated rich misfires accelerate carbon buildup on intake valves. A walnut blasting service running $300 to $800. The platforms hit hardest are the Ford Focus ST, Subaru WRX, and Volkswagen GTI, the exact cars whose communities promote this mod the loudest. Translation, measuring a cup of water, pouring half on the floor, and wondering why the engine runs rough every single day. Mod 5, oversized wheels and tires without geometry correction. Big wheels are the visual signature of modified car culture. The moment you bolt on a combination your suspension was never designed for, you have started a countdown clock on your bearings. CV axles, transmission, and braking system. Here's the thing, oversized tires create a longer lever arm that multiplies lateral forces on wheel bearings, ball joints, and control arms beyond OEM load ratings. Premature wheel bearing failure costs $300 to $800 per corner. The altered effective gear ratio forces the engine to spin a heavier rotating mass through every cycle, pushing the transmission into slip zones more frequently and forcing the engine to sustain higher RPM under loads it was never calibrated to manage. And get this, without a professional alignment and geometry correction, tires immediately run in extreme negative camber. Sidewall heat transfers into the wheel bearing race, softening the grease and initiating micro pitting. Driveshaft angles change, CV joints degrade, and the speedometer reads incorrectly. The real kicker, mechanics consistently report altered speedometer readings, rapid CV joint wear, and measurable transmission stress within the first 10,000 miles on vehicles running even one size above OEM spec with no supporting correction. Translation, size 15 shoes on a size 10 skeleton. Everything compensates until it breaks. Drop it in the comments. Have you done any of these mods? Did your mechanic warn you before the damage was done? We read every comment. Mod 6, straight pipe exhaust and gutted catalytic converters. Straight piping is sold as raw, unfiltered performance. No restrictions, maximum flow. What it actually delivers is a combustion management system missing one of its most critical feedback loops. Here's the thing, your catalytic converter is not just an emissions device. The downstream oxygen sensor after it is a primary ECU input for real-time fuel trim monitoring. Remove the cat and that feedback loop is severed. The system throws persistent P0420 and P0430 codes. Or the owner installs a dummy sensor to silence the light. Either way, the engine runs on degraded combustion data indefinitely. Without proper exhaust back pressure and functioning downstream feedback, combustion temperatures rise significantly. That heat creates ideal knock conditions, pre-detonation events that progressively damage pistons, rings, and valves. The real kicker, in multiple jurisdictions, a gutted catalytic converter carries fines of up to $10,000, on top of the engine damage, failed emissions inspection, and registration flag. Bottom line, you traded a functioning combustion management system for a louder exhaust and a more expensive set of problems. Ripping out your kidneys for a six-pack always ends the same way. Mod 7, low quality coilovers and aggressive drops. Without alignment done correctly with quality components and professional geometry correction, lowering a car can genuinely improve handling. A $200 coilover kit slammed to maximum drop with no alignment and no geometry check is not a performance upgrade. It is a slow disassembly of your drivetrain delivered in monthly installments. Here's the thing, aggressive drops immediately place tires in extreme negative camber. The contact patch shrinks, sidewall heat builds, and that heat transfers into the wheel bearing race, softening grease, initiating micro pitting, causing bearing failure. On front-wheel drive cars, altered drive shaft angles simultaneously accelerate CV axle wear and introduce drivetrain vibration costing $500 to $1,500 to correct. And get this, vibration from degraded CV joints and failing bearings transmits through the subframe directly into the engine mounts. When mounts fail, the motor shifts under load, stressing vacuum lines, sensor connectors, and the intake manifold. The mechanic sees a vacuum leak. The owner replaces the hose. Neither traces it back to the coilovers that started everything. The real kicker is the total bill. $300 on coilovers leads to over $2,000 in collateral damage. Tires, bearings, CV axles, engine mounts, sensors within 18 months. Every invoice feels unrelated. None of them are. Mod 8, aftermarket oil additives and engine treatments. Every mod so far involved hardware. This one comes in a bottle, costs $12, and has been running the same con since the 1970s. PTFE treatments, liquid metal compounds, engine restore formulas, products promising your engine will last longer and self-heal using chemistry the OEM engineers apparently missed. Here's the thing, the Federal Trade Commission has taken action against multiple PTFE additive manufacturers for false advertising. These compounds do not bond to metal surfaces as marketed. Instead, they introduce particulates that clog oil passages, starve main bearings of lubrication, and accelerate wear on oil pumps. A bearing replacement or bottom end rebuild from additive caused oil starvation exceeds $4,000. The additive costs $12. And get this, modern synthetic oils are precisely engineered chemical systems calibrated to OEM viscosity, ZDDP, and detergent specifications. A third-party compound either dilutes viscosity, reducing the hydrodynamic film between your crankshaft and destruction, or adds particulates the oil filter cannot capture. Oil pressure drops. A faint knock appears at cold startup. Owners dismiss it for months, right up until a rod bearing spins. Engines treated with these products consistently show accelerated cam lobe and lifter wear compared to vehicles running clean manufacturer specified oil alone. Translation, adding mystery sauce to a recipe that was already perfect does not improve it, it contaminates it, and the bill is $4,000. The modification industry has built a $200 billion business on one idea, that your car, as it left the factory, is not good enough. Here's the thing, the engineers who built your engine spent millions of dollars calibrating every fuel trim, every bearing tolerance, every oil specification, and every exhaust back pressure figure. Not because they were conservative, because every one of those figures is the precise line between long-term reliability and accelerated failure. The real kicker is the simplest truth in automotive maintenance. The most powerful modification you can make in 2026 is not a tune, not an intake, and certainly not a $12 bottle of engine treatment. It is clean oil at the right interval, OEM spec filters, and the discipline to leave a well-engineered system alone. Bottom line, the car that reaches 300,000 miles is almost never the most modified one in the parking lot. It is the most respected one. If this video just saved you from a costly mistake, hit subscribe. Every week, MotorMind delivers the truth about what is actually happening to your car, your money, and your engine. We will see you in the next one.